Peace, family. Welcome to another episode, Underground Railroad Productions. This your host, Brother Rich, and I am in Central Park with Blue Pill, 9/11. Yes, at 8:45, 9/11 right now. We by the Tekken, Central Park. Let me show y'all. It keeps going up and up and up. It's kind of dark right now, so you can't see all the way to the top, but y'all get the point. But we're here to talk about some spiritual things. A lot of spiritual things happened after 9/11. What year was that, Blue?
2001.
2001. A lot of people became conscious, Blue Pill, after 9/11, 2001. The conspiracy market blew up. David Icke, the Alex Jones, the Jordan Maxwells. If anybody was conscious at that time, it was like, it blew up, the conspiracy market. The metaphysical market blew up after that time. The Bobby Hemmett's, the Dr. Phil Valentine's, the Matrix Valerian books. They was like 500 pages thick. Val Valerian, yeah. If anybody remember at that time. So a lot of people consider it a portal. We're gonna get into some deep stuff. But before we do, Blue Pill, what you think about what's going on with Hillary Clinton? Is this like what does this have to? Because we wanted to go in one direction today, but with her passing out, with everything Dick Gregory said, with everything everybody's saying, we've been saying, is that like leading up to everything that we're talking about today?
We're in September.
She can't be a president.
Yeah, we're in September. This is September 11th, the 15-year anniversary of 9/11. As it has become affectionately known, okay, this was a policy, or should I say this was an incident that implemented foreign policy, whereas America, or the U.S., should I say, was able to invade Iraq and go into Afghanistan. One of the rallying points that the Republicans have against Hillary is at the time that she voted for war. You know what I'm saying? She voted to go into Iraq, and we all know that that was an unjust war. It's funny how they don't talk about Afghanistan being unjust as well. You know, when the supposed quote-unquote bombers, majority of them were from Saudi Arabia. But that's a whole nother story. So I think that it's the spiritual chickens coming home to roost. You know, we live in a post 9/11 world, you know, and everything that we have seen post 9/11 is related to 9/11. In terms of the policy, the levels of injustice that we are facing in this particular country at this particular time, it feels like it's slightly different than what our parents faced, because we are in a new world. We're in a post 9/11 world, and these things are not supposed to happen in this world, where the fiction of this particular world is that everyone was unified on one page, because tragedy unifies people. So the patriotism that was experienced in this particular country was supposed to be the signaling that we were in a post-racial world. You know what I'm saying? But I can't see how that is when, you know, everyone willfully saw the quote-unquote Americans, or this government in particular, target specific groups and religions based on the prejudice that was pretty much hit a crescendo after 9/11 for Muslims, in particular for Arabs, because those are not the same thing for the listening audience, you know. So when we see Hillary collapsing at such a pivotal point in her run for presidency, and the fact that we really haven't seen her campaigning since the nomination, you know, we haven't seen too much of her. She's not filling up stadiums or what have you. So here in this post 9/11 world, where they tell you that one of the most paramount things is our security as a quote-unquote nation, the threat that is being posed by ISIS, the threat that's being posed from abroad, from people that hate America, you know, we're being sold this idea that the next president has to be one that is strong and focused on security, you know, that can deal with other international leaders in a way in which doesn't instill fear, because we all saw how the international leadership of the world don't respect Barack Hussein Obama. You know what I'm saying? They pretty much treat him however they will. You know, hence the incident that just occurred in China on the tarmac. So what this country, right, is telling its citizens is that it needs to project an ideal of strength going into what we can identify clearly as the future. The next 4 years is going to bring us into 2020. It's going to bring us into the proverbial future. So the president that's going to lead us there is going to have to be a strong president, one with vision, one with a level of tenacity that they are ready to pop whenever something needs to pop off, or one that has a level of endurance where they're going to be able to get this country over the hump, you know what I'm saying? Or make America great again, or what have you. Right? By the way, yeah, make Brooklyn black again. Shout out. All right. So when Hillary is projecting this level of weakness, okay, in the minds of the populace, and I don't even want to get into that area of the conversation about the strength of a woman versus the strength of a man, because we're talking about her opponent is still Donald Trump. We're talking about, you know, this dude could get in the gym and bench press 400 something pounds. I don't care what his physical strength is. We know that his mental tenacity is not up to par as well. Well, what he represents mentally in terms of his non-dexterity, what he represents mentally in terms of his weakness, she represents physically. So, like we said, they're really giving you a bum pick, a bum rap. Like, you're getting to choose between, you know, like the bottom suds of the 40 ounce and maybe the piss that comes after that. I don't know. Like, I don't really know how to sum it up best, but it's just a bad deal. And the populace is going to be put into this particular position where they're almost like giving away whatever last bit of semblance of control that they had over themselves in this country to inept leadership. You know, it's already clear by way of whistleblowers like Edward Snowden that post 9/11, what the NSA has done to erode on the rights of the citizenry in this particular country is appalling. You know what I'm saying? It's almost tantamount to saying, you know, you have no rights. As a result of 9/11, a result for you wanting this level of security, you have given up all of your rights. You have given up everything that once was sacred to what you held dear to as a quote-unquote American citizen. All of that changed on 9/11. All right? They call it the day that changed everything. But we don't speak about this world in terms of post 9/11. So post 9/11, we was already experiencing the presidency of a lame duck president, you know, one who wasn't cognizant as well in the office, someone like a precursor to a Trump, and that's George Herbert Walker Bush. You know what I'm saying? That's W. So, and then we got Obama. Very interesting for the past 8 years. You know what I'm saying? And now we're poised to either elect, so they say, either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. But are we looking at the death blow of Hillary Clinton if she cannot serve, right, with a clean bill of health? Already embroiled in all the controversy that all of the experts are saying that are looking at her medical records saying, look, this lady is not well. She's suffering from concussion. She had a head injury a few years ago. She's, you know, tantamount to pass out and faint. Like, what if she's in a high stakes level negotiation or some sort of deliberation behind closed doors with international leadership and she faints at the table? What sort of weakness is that projecting? And this, again, I'm just speaking as an observer. I'm not speaking as anyone that has any ponies in a race. You know what I'm saying? I'm not speaking from the patriotic part of Blue Pill or what have you, but I'm just being mindful of what it is that we're observing. You know what I'm saying? I domicile here in this particular place. You feel me? So we are affected by the politics that are taking place. And we definitely see how it's moving and stirring the people around us. You know? So how can our people make a conscious decision for a lame duck president. It's like you're voting for somebody to go to the Olympics to represent you in a marathon who got a bum foot. Like, why would you do that? Where does the confidence come from that? You know what I'm saying? Just because you know them? Like, this is real tricky, B.
Blue, when we talk about the spiritual implications of 9/11, like I said earlier, a lot of people became conscious. Knowledge of them, let's define conscious. It means awareness. A lot of people became more aware of who they are. They wanted to study more about who they are. They wanted to study more about the government. They want to study more about life after 9/11. There's this thing with spirituality. You have the tarot deck. You have all types of spiritual system that talks about these towers, these twin towers. I mean, and then is it conspiracy or is this shit prophecy? Because we always hear about these towers throughout all these spiritual systems, throughout the tarot decks. What really happened? Is 9/11 something that was prophesized long before you folded the dollar bill and you seen the smoke on the Twin Towers? Is this something that was prophesized thousands of years ago, brother?
It's very interesting question that you ask, and that leads to this whole phenomenon of predestiny. You know what I'm saying? Is what we're witnessing, or has it already been predestined? Can we find it in ancient law? Are these stories that have already been told and we're living through them? You know what I'm saying? So take, for instance, we're at the Tekenu, at the obelisk in the back of Central Park. Normally, when you would see these obelisks in Kemet, it would be two of them, twins, all right? And they were embarked at the entrance. These are the twin pillars, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So the twin pillars or the twin towers were always the ritualistic aspect of what the twin towers represent. These are the gateway portals. This is what you pass through when you are being inaugurated into, whether you're coming into the temple, whether you're coming into the university, whether you're coming into whatever you're coming into, whether you're coming into the actual province. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got Tekken up, you know, in Rome. They got them in London. You know, they have them in all the financial centers. They have them in D.C., of course. You know what I'm saying? By way of the Washington Monument. And they have this one right here in Central Park that was Masonically donated, I believe, in the early 1900s. All right, this is called Cleopatra's Needle. I believe the twin of this, because it has a twin, huh? No, that the one in D.C. is built. Okay. These are original. Yeah, this is, I think the twin is either in London or it's in, it might be the one in Rome. Don't quote me on that. You can Google it and find out yourself. But what these motifs, what these symbols have always represented, all right, these are the portal antennas, especially this. You see this granite? This granite is allowing this particular portal to become an antenna, all right? And the fact that it's built on granite and it's sitting on limestone, this acts as tachyon energy. So I am putting my intent into this granite, and I'm communicating with the multiverse in real time, instantaneously. All right? It's traveling faster than you can conceive. So these edifices are based on transmission and communication. World Trade Center, right, was built in an area that was called Radio Row. All right? Downtown Manhattan, where World Trade Center was once at, is at right now, was once called Radio Row. All right? So to me, it's no mystery that they would build a World Trade Center and then they would have that large-ass antenna on the top of it, right, for transmissions. It was beaming frequencies not only throughout this world, it was beaming them throughout this particular galaxy. So, right, radio wave frequencies, okay, and it was dealing with a current, dealing with finances. If you look at it, you can tell that it was actually built out of tuning forks. Or shins, right? These shapes were what you call shin. And shin is a letter in the Hebrew alphabet. But they look like tuning forks. And we know that the tuning forks are tuned to 440 frequency megahertz or what have you. So they were hitting, right? And not only that, if you look at them, they were situated like 11s, metallic 11s. what you can't see is they were submerged. They were sitting in a tub. Underneath them was a tub. It's a red tub, and it had water in it. And underneath that red tub and that water was gold. They showed you that in Die Hard. All right? They showed you the gold was there. So the World Trade Center was a science experiment of how it was a science experiment in conductivity. How do you use these particular buildings as magnets to pull currency in and send currency out as a frequency? So when that was destroyed and disrupted, and they turned what was normally twin towers into one tower, one Freedom Tower, like they have this singular obelisk in this particular edifice, you are looking at Masonic rituals at its highest degree, okay? Because the whole aspect of the twin pillars of Masonry of Boaz and Jacquin is the destruction of one of those pillars, right? And then they resurrect and bring up that one pillar to represent 110 flaws and all of these things. All of this is Masonry, all dealing with these 11s and these master numbers, you know. So a lot goes into the intent behind these particular designs. A lot goes into the formulation of the beginning dates of when they inaugurate these particular edifices and when they take them down. My beliefs, and I'll just call it a belief at this time, is that they built the towers to bring them down, all right? They introduced them to the world on April 4th, 1973. There goes your 44. And they took them down on 9/11/2001. All right. And if you take the numbers 2 and 9 or 9/11, right? Because you got to add up all of the single integers. If you take the 2 and 9 and you add 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 5, 5 plus 6, 6 plus 7, on and on until you get to 9. If you add up the numbers from 2 all the way from the numbers to 9, you'll get 44. All right. So if 01 is your binary code, okay, and this is talking about programming, all right, and we're not even talking about computer programming, we're talking about how you program reality, how you program computers, right? How were the people programmed on 9/11? 01 is binary. 2 to 9, though, that's trinary. So 01 would be your DNA. 2 to 9 would be your RNA. That's the coding that you don't see. You know what I'm saying? So 9/11 is a coding. It's a transmission. What did they code and what did they program? We are living, like I said, in a post 9/11 world. All right? Completely artificial. Right? Dealing with all sorts of code and ordinances and acts and what have you. This is completely artificial at this particular time. So I think, again, that it was a Masonic ritual to bring about this New World Order. And I think that at the 15 or 16 or 17 year mark, they're definitely going to be able to look at what they call their grand design and say, it was a great work of work. You know what I'm saying? You know, it was a great work. They've achieved a lot of what they've set out to achieve by way of that grand ritual, even though we do identify there's a lot of infighting even amongst them. So, you know, they haven't gotten everything off, but, you know, they got you niggas scared to death. And I think that's been the point. Perpetual fear, like 15 years of fear. It's crazy.
Blue, with everything you just said, now we're dealing with ancient Egypt here.
Yes.
You know, within the quote-unquote conscious community, we've had this Kemet versus Hebrew thing going on for quite some time now. The Hebrews say America ain't nothing but modern day version of ancient Egypt. Okay. You just pointed out that the original pillars were in Egypt. America comes and tries to emulate that. They built what they see in Egypt.
Yes.
They take what this was imported from Egypt.
From Kemet, yeah.
From Kemet, directly.
Kemet, yeah.
So how do you feel about him? How do you feel about the fact that America trying to emulate Egypt? How does it make you? Let me say it like this. How does it make you feel about Egypt, being that you have the pyramid around your neck?
Yes.
You feel how you feel about America, but does it change your perception about Egypt if you know that what you're living in is trying to emulate what you're worshiping?
I don't necessarily worship anything Egyptian. I resonate with the tenets and the principles and I do see a stark similarity with the phenotypes of the individuals at that particular time. So I resonate with it. But what I understand is that what I'm seeing in this particular country is Egyptian. It's not Cometian. So this is a continuation of what the Ptolemies, were able to retrieve from Kemet when they invaded it. You know what I'm saying? I was blessed to go on a trip with brother Anthony Browder in DC called Egypt on the Potomac, where he unilaterally pointed out that everything that they have done is by way to ritualize Egypt. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the Metropolitan Museum here in New York City, when you first walk in, that's what you're introduced with. Ptolemaic Egypt. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the Brooklyn Museum, you run into Ptolemy. They're not giving you 18th dynasty and things of that nature. So what I'm holding on to is that 18th dynasty Kemet. You know what I'm saying? I'm holding on to Kemet with our good brothers, from the South when they were sitting on the throne and when they had things in order. You feel me? But like I said, we're dealing with Masons. So I know that the Masons are going to have to come with the slants of the master builders. Who else were the master builders on this planet? I continuously ask people this all the time. First of all, how can you even say that they are, what do they call them? Platonic solids. You know what I'm saying? How can these be platonic solids if the Greeks came to Kemet, right? And they found about architecture, and they found about sacred geometry after Cometians had already built all sorts of edifices that had been standing up for thousands of years. So they teach their students mathematics, they teach their students architecture, their students take it back to where they're from, and they start spitting the bobo. That's like if you seen this information on YouTube and you went back to your hood and you started spitting it, and then they brand you the person that they heard it from, but you get accredited with where it came from. That's not where it came from. You heard it from somebody else and you regurgitated it. So it's the same thing with the Greek, the same thing with Plato, same thing with Socrates, and all of them. They were taught this, or they got it secondhand from somebody else that was taught amongst the masters, and then they got it. So Pythagorean triangles and Pythagorean math and all of this is all of our ancestors. So even dealing with masonry, how dare they? You know what I'm saying? The Cometians weren't the first stonemasons. Who built the pyramids? Who built those edifices that stand 50, 60, 70, 80 feet tall? If these people were not masons, is that not the best masonry that's still standing on this planet? So you got your speculative masons and you got your operative ones. So the ones that are speculative, of course, they're going to tie themselves to the operative ones as best as they can and try every chance possible to reenact the works of the great ones. So that's all we're seeing. We're seeing our children, right, who are having a relationship with their parents that is irrespective or dismissive of the people who don't know that they are their parents as well, or they're part of that parentage. So they're like, nigga, I ain't got no time for you. I'd rather represent or worship the past you because I can't deal with the present day you because you got amnesia. You feel me? You got amnesia. Or you're coming to the student for permission, you know what I'm saying, to learn the things that they learned from their masters. Case in point, what I'm saying is, take Prince Hall Masons. They got to get their charter from Europe. You know what I'm saying? The Europeans got their charters from the Moors. The Europeans got their charters from other people that look just like you. But now you're coming to the Europeans subserviently trying to get the information that should be endowed in your DNA because that's where they got it from. You feel me? So, yeah, I don't really take it personal. I know what the worship is based on their part, you know what I'm saying? And I know that I'm not participating in any level of worship. We're edifying and we're holding up these principles for different reasons, though. You know what I'm saying? And we looking to get at, different aspects of what the science has to offer. But I'm thankful that the Tekenu is here. You know what I'm saying? And we can see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful for the fact that I can go in the Metropolitan Museum and some of these artifacts are here. I would love to see them in their original state, in their original locations, in their homes or what have you. But this is where we're at. You know what I'm saying? We got to deal with the cards that we've been dealt.
I remember back in the day, Blue, it's such an interesting time for those that think This was some overnight shit me and you into, man. This shit is like over 10 years in the making, over 15 years. We've been into this, studying this hardcore, man, for a long time. I remember when the community was very, very tight, very, was real enclosed within New York. And Bobby and Phil used to talk. Bobby sometimes would say when an event happened, like 9/11 or any event, it could have been like the tsunami that happened in Asia. Yeah. Bobby would say, man, that was the goddess such and such, Tiamat or whatever. Yeah. Phil would say it was a conspiracy. Yeah. So let's get into the spiritual implications of 9/11. Do you think sometimes the spirit realm or the cosmos uses the conspiracy realm to do what they need them to do, which makes it spiritual and conspiracy at the same time?
Yes, I've been very clear on this to say that, the conspirators are not cognizant of the fact that they are participants in the conspiracy themselves. There's a saying that says, man plans, but Allah plans best. So that's the position I take when it comes to conspirators. And I've only been able to really solidify that overstanding by way of the Law 44. And the fact that I study this number one particular way, but then now they have a group of other researchers that study this number and other numbers in a particular way. Every time they come up with something, they attribute it to a conspiracy. They're like, this is a conspiracy. It's the Masons and the Zionists, and they're doing this and they're doing that, and they're just giving them too much power. You know what I'm saying? They are making a conspiracy a little bit too vast. My whole thing is this. What is the animating force in man? How can man, right, trip up, quote unquote, God? You know what I'm saying? There has to be some sort of connection. There has to be some sort of co-hosting involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's work that's being done. Man's hand is being animated from a particular force, and man, with his ego self, he's always going to attribute it to himself. He's going to think that he's the one that's being smart. He's outsmarting the cosmos and things of that nature. That couldn't be further from the truth. You know what I'm saying? You're not outsmarting the cosmos. The hand that you playing, you think that you bumped this person off and you got away with it or what have you, you're playing into a bigger agenda. You know what I'm saying? Which ultimately, and people think, like I said, when we mention these words like God and divinity, all of a sudden they think such a sanctified thought about these things, so they can't conceive that these forces would be implicit in the removal of somebody violently, not knowing that, this probably was in this person's chart. This person was probably destined to die a violent death. You feel me? It don't mean that was the hand of the devil in this conspiracy and they taking a pint of the blood and doing X, Y, and Z with it. And even if that is, I ask people all the time, this whole concept of good versus dark or light, you know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? God versus the devil and everything. Where does the devil get his operating orders from? Where is he deriving these powers? It ain't like if God is if he's omnipresent and omnipotent at all times, where does the devil exist? It ain't like he's hiding from God. He can't be running away from him. You know what I'm saying? He's always one step ahead of him. He's fooling God. You feel me? This shit makes no sense. So yeah, some of it may seem to be vast conspiracies, but it is working into a higher spiritual plan. And also, when there's a level of, lethargy involved, and the people that are conspiring are a little bit more official than those that they're conspiring against, it's definitely going to look like they got a foothold in the race, because they are going to be getting ahead at the end of the day. They're going to be getting their shit done because they're doing the ritual. You know what I'm saying? They're putting things in motion. You know what I'm saying? They are enacting. Not acting, they are enacting these particular principles, because at the end of the day, energy's neutral. It's going to work with whoever. So that's my thoughts on that.
Do you blame anybody who studies this information and decides that, you know what? Based on what I study, based on astrology, based on metaphysics, based on the tarot, based on whatever, black people's not gonna be awake right now. So I'm gonna just play along with the system because I know that it's not the time right now to be attacking or being against the system. You can do that if you want to, but you're gonna be fucked up. You're gonna be broke. You're gonna be depressed. You ain't gonna have no woman. Your woman's gonna leave you, and you're gonna be mad at the world at the end of the day. So I'm not gonna be a complete sellout, but I'm gonna at least play along with the system because I study the stars and I know that it's not the time to be a so-called revolutionary right now. Do you feel as though that is acceptable way of looking at the situation?
Yes, it is. If an individual is charting out how they can best service humanity or themselves in humanity, you know what I'm saying? Or themselves versus humanity, you know, and that said person is consulting some sort of astrological / cosmological wheel, and you know the energy that's being emanated from these particular centers is telling that person that it's not an advantageous time for them to make a move, or you know their chart might be lit up in a particular area and their advisor tells them, look, you need to lay low, you know, because you constantly being in the camera and the limelight is going to serve as a disservice to you based on X, Y, and Z. That person needs to follow suit. You know what I'm saying? That person needs to take advice of their advisor or what it is that they're seeing and interpreting for themselves and say, you know, I need to fall back. You know what I mean? Choose your battles wisely. You feel me? It's obvious that everybody is not mounting some sort of opposition. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know, substantial to an extent where they're seeing results in the real time in the real world. You know, majority of people are taking L's out here and they're getting washed up, or they just getting washed along with the current. Very few people are going against the current and sustaining some level of momentum where they're actually gaining traction. You feel me? So the shit don't look pretty. It's not pretty at all. This is very, very ugly, and a lot of people are making decisions about where they want to be, you know, on the side of history. Do they want to be on the page or outside of the margins? And these are real things because they tie into your life. They tie into your legacy. Like I said, we live in a very complicated world post 9/11, you know, where I haven't met too many people that read the Patriot Act. I haven't met too many people that know about renditions and you know, black sites and, you know, the type of really, you know, droning and shit like that, kill lists and the fucking dirty games that's really, really, really being played in the name of national security, in the name of national threats, in the name of terrorism and all of these things, you know, domestic terrorism and the subtleties that go into this. I don't know too many people. I haven't met too many people that are familiar with all of the UCC changes that took place after 9/11 and the fact that the majority of things that they changed on the books were all commercial, all right? Not criminal, not dealing with the shit that you might think that they was aiming for, but commercial, dealing with a lot of stuff that was going on in those courtrooms at the time. So, yeah, a lot of people have opted out. There's so many people that I haven't seen, you know, since 9/11 that have been mute, that have not been vocal, you know what I'm saying, who have been tucking their tongue. And, yeah, like, that's based on a soul decision, man. You feel me? We are all particulates. We're all representatives of that divine emanating force and energy, man. So all we have in this life are choices and decisions. That's what defines us. You feel me? And for some people, they feel like they got to make that particular choice and decision. That's the best choice for themselves, their lineage, their livelihood. So be it.
When you study ancient Kemet, when you study the ancient civilizations, and you live your life today. I mean, we sitting in front of the Tekken right now. We in Central Park. You know what I'm saying? 9/11 Central Park. Yeah, it's real. It's real that it lined up like this. You know, the moon, and I'm sure people are going to see the light on the other side, and they're going to think some Baphomet stuff and You know what I'm saying? and we set it,
Bobby.
yeah, and we set it up like that and all that. But wow, what does it make you think about religion and the state of your people? How much do you contribute the downfall? Do you contribute like the majority of people being downtrodden and down and completely lost of who they are? How much do you contribute that to religion? Because everything somebody sees outside of religion, whether it's a Tekken or whether it's a moon, they consider that evil. So
I think, once again, as I said, if I was a Christian, I would be very upset with the way, because supposedly I would have been taught to believe that I live in a Christian country. So first of all, I would want to know, well, what was the relationship between Christianity and all of the founding fathers who were Masons? And a lot of them were deitists. They weren't even Christians. You got to look that up and find out for yourself what a deitist is. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you're supposedly Christian in a country that is super occultist, is super, like, they're into super idolatry out here. Like, majority of shit that's popping out here is anti-Christian on the surface. What is, holding to the tenets of Christianity in this country that you could be proud of? Everything is idolatry, damn near. You go to the Washington, they got monuments built, edifices built to, these men 40, 50 feet tall and shit. They ain't got none of Jesus out there. They got him of Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, George Washington, and shit like that. So, yeah, Christians in this country are just like assaulted and bombarded by symbolism of things that will ultimately confuse them, because their Bible is telling them that these things are unchristian. They're telling them that these things are evil. They're telling them that these things are not of God. Well, how do you make sense of it all? You know what I'm saying? And why are they still standing? So Christians in this country need to figure out, how does Christianity actually work in a Masonic country? You know what I'm saying? Where do the two meet? You feel me? Because many aspects of the church are against Masonry. You know what I'm saying? And some aspects of Masonry, well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. But yeah, it's interesting. To be symbol literate in America, it has to be not only symbol literate, but if you're symbol touchy, you know what I'm saying? If you're symbol touchy, like every symbol got you feeling the way. Like I had read a comment on one of the videos the other day, and it said, I don't want to hear nothing that brother got to say about Dr. Sebi. That brother got a eye of Horus and a Ankhorn, a pyramid.
Crazy, man.
So everything that I had to say was dismissed based on the fact that, I have these particular motifs on. You feel me? Without asking me, brother, why do you have those motifs on? What's that about? Without 9/11, we wouldn't have had the influx of the hysteria centered around the Illuminati scare and conspiracy, and that ultimately is what was utilized to demonize the Eye of Horus and all of these things. So like I said, as all of these ancient symbols come into play, like you said, the towers and everything, the lightning bolt hitting the tower, people jumping out of the towers, all of these things have been on cards. How much could we have learned as a country about occultism, about our past, about our destiny, right? As a people and as a country. And I say ours because all of you niggas is here. You feel me? There's 44 million melanated people here in this country. All right? I keep saying, if you did not want to be here, your ass would not be here. If you weren't supposed to be here, you wouldn't have been born here. So we are all collectively part of this ship. We are all part of this. You know what I'm saying? We're all going through this together. When them towers fell, you niggas put on red, white, and blue. I seen you. Okay? I got pictures. I remember. You niggas is patriots. Underneath all of that tough shit, you niggas is patriots. You love this shit. You feel me? And it's hard not to love it. That's what they do to you here. So, yeah, like,
But what I'm saying is, Blue. Yeah. Why is it that, this is a question I always wonder, and this is my last question. Yeah. This is my last question for you. The people that are the most moral, just like the people that are the most patriot, they will want to cut your head off. They will want to behead you. They will wish karma on you. They will say God is going to punish you. God is going to punish your children. It seems like when you're into this morality thing and you're into this religion thing, or when you're into this patriotism thing, you sometimes you wish some hell of a shit on a person. You're like, man, if you disagree with me, God is going to kill you and your family. And God is going to condemn you to hell for 1,000 years or for eternity. So it's like, why is this sometimes the most moral is the most quote unquote moral is the most quote unquote immoral? Blue pill.
Morality is illusionary at best. You know what I'm saying? Especially living in this country, living in a place that we live in this time and space. You know, the people that are holding on to morality, especially from a religious place, that's pure hypocrisy. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth, the actuality about these religions has no moral bearings whatsoever. So morality is sold to people for control. You know what I'm saying? Morality is about domestication. Morality is about controlling large populaces of people. You feed the people morality and you engage in immorality in the background, in the darkness. The Wizard of Oz. You know what I'm saying?
Teach.
So that's what we're dealing with. The fact that these people will become radicalized by their belief systems to a degree that if you don't believe what they believe, they want to bring harm and injury to you. You know, I think that it speaks directly to the hypocrisy of those teachings and the fact that, again, morality is it's a wet food stamp.
Leave your contact info, brother.
Yeah, as always, Blue Pillar 44, and the website for the clothing is apparel, as in clothing, apparel. Yes, normal. It's a play on paranormal, but it's apparel, APPARELNORMAL.com. My Power Pieces, PIECES, mypowerpieces.com is where you can find the jewelry. Law44.com is where you can get some of this information. We will have a lecture/webinar coming very, very, very shortly dealing with this. Like I said, World Trade Centers opened up on April 4th, 1973, and they closed on 9/11. When they reopened the World Trade Center on November 3rd, they opened it up all the way up into the 44th floor, okay? And they reserved that floor for Condé Nast, the magazine publishers. They said that it was the most coveted floor of the building. The Devil Wears Prada, okay? Anna Wintour. She's the one that's in charge of, you know, that particular department or what have you. So they got the coveted 44th floor prize, and they moved from 4 Times Square. They were positioned in the building on Times Square that had 4s on each side of like Fantastic Four. It was a 44 building. They had 44 resonators. So they gave them the 44th floor when they set the One World Towers up and opened it up on November 3rd. But there's so many other connecting factors. Like we said, even when you look at the tribute lights, those are 88 lights to the shining in the sky, beamed off of 2 different lights. So it's 44 piece of them. You know, they just ritualized it to death. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the key with the World Trade Center and their 44 domestication program is dealing with the cubing. You know what I'm saying? It's dealing with their homage they pay to the planet Saturn. You know what I'm saying? That's why you will always find a large Zionist connection to this particular quote unquote conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you want to deem it. But it's a ritual that's cosmic, it's galactic. It has ramifications not only on this planet, but throughout the galaxy. They were able to crack a cosmic egg, as Brother Valentine has came forward and spoke on, as Leonard Arnold has even spoke on in his series. You know, they cracked the cosmic egg, and a lot of that that cosmic fluid has seeped out. You know what I'm saying? And we are at a detriment as a people because of that. The planet has changed post 9/11. There's a lot that we've lost. You know what I'm saying? Not too much that we've gained past that time, other than the fact that we have been blessed to have these platforms, to have this communication. I just want to give you a real quick brief history, okay, dealing with post 9/11. At the time, I was, that very month, I was brought in to write at a newspaper called Four Corners. It was the first hip-hop newspaper, all right, based out of Brooklyn. Shout out to my brother JP. We had hired a young brother who had came, you know what I'm saying, to write with us, named Black Dot. He was driving a New York City bus at the time, but the brother was phenomenal with the pen. So bro came on board and we just started going in, you know, and we were one of the only dissenting voices at that time about 9/11. The night before 9/11, I was reading a book by David Icke called The Biggest Secret. In this book, he said that they were going to knock the towers again, and he said they were going to blame a man called Osama bin Laden. And what he did in the book is he said, make sure that you, when this happens, he said, make sure that you look at your TV. He's like, and look to see what's the first news agency to report Osama bin Laden was the culprit. As truth be told, when it happened, and I woke up and I thought I was looking at a movie, but I remember what I read the night before. I turned the TV on, started flipping through the channels. CBS was the first station to report that the main suspect was Osama bin Laden. So David Icke had whole chapters on Columbia Broadcasting, or the whole deity Columbia. You know what I'm saying? So it would be CBS. It would be that one eye motif that's dealing with the, you know, agenda of, you know what I'm saying, the patsy of the fall guy. You know what I'm saying? Of the lone, you know, but they went from lone shooters and shit like that to, you know, lone terrorists blowing up motherfucking buildings 15,000, 100,000 miles away in a cave. So we were able to formulate the metaphysical underground, me, Black Dot, Brother Chris, and Brother Shabazz, all right? Because we wanted to bring our speakers, our lecturers in and introduce them to a new market, a youth market at this particular time, to help people escape the fear-based program that everyone was going through. They was making these niggas pledge allegiance, okay? So like I said, 9/11, post 9/11 ties to everything. What you seeing with Kaepernick, all of this shit. These niggas was patriots. They was on a red, white, and blue shit. They was pledging allegiance. We know mad people went to the war as a result of that. Shout out to all of my veterans that got sucked into that sucker plan. Okay? So when y'all niggas was doing that, we was on the forefront fighting the spell with the pen, writing a narrative to get people out of falling into this particular sleep, this slumber. All right? And as a result of what we did, we were able to create the metaphysical underworld, which has morphed into what you now know as the conscious community. And like my brother has spoke about earlier, inclusive of Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, any of the historians, and not to take anything away from them, they were not speaking about the occult. They were not speaking about metaphysics, and their conversation had nothing to do with 9/11. So the streets didn't need that because we live in a post 9/11 world. These niggas done take you back, and they got you dealing with pre 9/11 shit. You feel me? But we live in a post 9/11 world. So we were giving the people what they needed for a post 9/11 world. All right, you get your Delberts in there because motherfucking portholes were opening and you could see pictures of craft and all of that during 9/11. So we had to get your Delberts up in there. We had to get your Bobbies up in there. We had to get your Phils up in there. You feel me? We had to get the people whose conversation at that time was pertinent to what it was we was fighting, which was the spell that people were falling under. All right, and now here we are. We have this community that has blossomed with so many people that have contributed. But all of you niggas live in a post 9/11 world. You feel me? And anybody that calls themselves conscious, they got to chalk it up to that. All right? They got to chalk it up to that. The version of consciousness that came out post 9/11 is where we're at as a quote-unquote community. Of course, now it's more inclusive of the historians and everybody else is bringing shit to the table. But when it was live wire, when it jumped off, when we was riding, this shit was about metaphysics. It was about the occult. and it was dealing with 9/11 and the many ramifications that come from that. Shout out to brother A.A. Rashid. He even wrote treatises on it from behind the wall. He got a book called The Pillars, The Kabbalistic Understanding of 9/11. He did a lot. You know what I'm saying? And things continuously are being done. Because like I said, and it won't change. You live in a post 9/11 world, in the shadow of 9/11. And every time that they enact something to remind you of that event, your ass is traumatized by that event, whether you know it or not. We're talking on a subconscious. So you're continuously being ritualized into this whole aspect of you cracking the egg and leaking that cosmic fluid. Every time you're reminded by something pertaining to 9/11, whether it's subtle or whether it's hardcore, you're still being reminded of it. Subtly or, straight up in your motherfucking face. All right? So Hillary collapsing at the motherfucking memorial, all of that shit. All it is to play and to forever constantly reminding you about 9/11. You can't let go of it. So you got to find another way to deal with it. And that's what we provide as a platform. That's what we've been providing as a people. The Metaphysical Underground. Shout out to everybody that participated. The brothers and the sisters. The people who attended in the audience. You're just as important as the people that were up there lecturing. Peace, love, and light.
Peace.